conversations. So today we're going to talk about Black stories on screen. As we know, there is a concerted effort in the world right now to erase our stories, erase our voices, mute our voices. So I'm excited to talk to all three of these panelists about Black stories, about the documentary that's going to be screened earlier, and just what it means to navigate in the space. So let me introduce our panelists again, of course, Tamika Jamison, the founder of Black Writers Weekend. Clap it up for her. Jameer Smith of iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
On Saturdays, of course. And of course, Jessica Bethel, photographer, creative strategist, and content creator. Thank you all. So diving into discussing Black stories on screen, later on you'll all have the opportunity to screen Dear Black Writers. It's deeply personal. Tamika, I'm gonna start with you. It's personal but also communal. What did the title mean to you upon the creation of this and your journey in creating this documentary?
So, if you guys, not too antsy, stick around, you'll be able to watch Dear Black Writers after this talk. The reason why I named it Dear Black Writers is because it's like an open love letter, essentially. And I wanted writers and just creatives in general to see the labor and love that it takes to make these type of experiences happen. Because it's not easy at all. It does take it's a labor of love, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And through the lens of me and my team, I wanted everyone to kind of see it's more than just sending out emails like, hey, can you come? It's almost like you have to court people, you have to finance it, you gotta market it, and you gotta get people to care. And it's called Black Writers Weekend because I love us. That's first and foremost. But then secondly, I know that we are the blueprint to a lot of creativity globally. But often people they try to forget that it really kind of is rooted in us and it comes and it's birthed from us. And so this is essentially me just doing my part to honor us, to celebrate us.
In the midst of that honor, there's also the need to make sure that these stories reach the masses.
Yes.
Jameer, I'll bring that over to you to speak to the media perspective of when you receive the notification, especially on a platform like iHeart, the global platform, to have the opportunity to tell these Black stories or guide conversations around these stories. So what is that process like for you? And what does it mean to you as a Black man to talk about Black stories to the masses?
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about iHeart and Power 97.5 LA is allowed me to creatively have my own voice, but also be able to bring these type of conversations like Tamika, as we were able to interview her earlier this week. And we had an amazing conversation just to understand really the perspective of what this really means for Los Angeles, what she's doing everywhere in the country, honestly, for Black writers. And to your question, I think representation continuously matters. It matters for all of us to make sure that our stories are being told. I think a lot of people that have come up today have said the same thing, of making sure that we are actually creating some noise, right? And I think we do have to be honest with ourselves and saying, are our stories being told? And if they're not being told, make them told. Create the platforms, the YouTubes, the TikToks, and then also create your own spaces and community. I heard that a lot today. That's why I came early, because I wanted to listen to a lot of people's conversations about community. And it is looking to your left and right and saying, even though I do work with a large platform like Power and iHeart, who are the people to my left and right that I went to college with, the people that I work with, or the people that I've met throughout this journey that we can say, let's work together and collectively, let's build. Right. Let's see how we can say, hey, if our story isn't being told, let's create our story. So yeah.
Jessica, that's a good pivot over to you as a creative strategist and content creator. What is it, the landscape now, like amplifying these stories, particularly because we have access to so many different tools now? There's a different sort of gatekeeping that's happening now, but there are tools that are available. So if you could walk us through your process on the amplification of stories from the strategist standpoint.
Yeah, from a strategist standpoint, so I pretty much work with different brands and authors, creatives to flesh out their story and how that looks online. And so that process generally looks like sitting down and talking about their personal story and how they can apply it to a lot of these apps that kind of gatekeep, like you said, and push us to the side, especially as Black creators. So it's a lot of, like, for instance, I'm working with an author right now, and she's trying to figure out how to properly so that she can continue to get, the next book deal. And what does that look like? It looks like going out, and her book is a historical fiction book, so we're going out to different spots around LA and recording videos, editing those videos so it's appealing for the masses and putting them out there. And then thinking about how do we appeal to people from a digital standpoint in terms of amplifying through a podcast show or a newsletter, those type of things. So I really do walk through people like asking them so many different questions in the strategy phase to get a sense of like, how do we, pretty much put their story out there so that it makes sense for people, and then going from there so we can continue to amplify what they're doing. So it's a deep dive, it's a lot of strategy work, and then it's a lot of, pretty much putting it to work at the end of the day. And it's a lot of the times with these apps, especially from a creator standpoint, like you can be suppressed sometimes. Especially like for me, I'm talking about Black books and BIPOC, but mostly Black books I'm amplifying, and that does get suppressed, and that's the reality. Versus my white counterparts, their books are, what they're doing is being amplified. They're getting the opportunities, they're getting the 5-figure deals. Versus like Black content creators are not getting that. We have to go several steps more to do it. Same thing with authors or creatives in general that I work with. They have to do more to get there. So it's a lot of strategy work on our end to make sure that what we're doing makes sense and that it's gonna get us, we have to bulldoze through the door.
Absolutely. That's a great pivot for you, Tamika. What resonated with me in your film that we'll get to enjoy is that you discussed this, spaces are like taking back power.
Yeah.
And what power do you believe Black writers and creatives have been historically denied, and how did you take that to build upon what you've created here?
I mean, who said this? To know that to be a Black person in America is to be like an angry person. Who said that? Jay Paul? Yes. So I try not to reflect on that on a daily basis because
A little hard to put your mouth on.
you'll kind of be upset because when I say they, this business, aka America's not technically a country in my opinion, it is a business, it's always been structured as a business. The citizens in America are their workers, we feed their bottom line, which is why we're taxed on everything. And they have to keep certain demographics oppressed and to the point to where they cannot excel or too busy to where they can't think about getting out of that rabbit hole. And the work that I'm doing is me being intentional with you seeing that doesn't have to be. Yes, there is a system. Yes, this business country is built on a system that requires you to tap into a little bit just for survival. Yes, we get that. Totally understand. But when we gather and we create these type of spaces, we want to share resources and tools on how you can get out of that. How you can do the things that you have to do so that you can then turn around and do things that you want to do. It is possible. It's all about balance. It's literally finding a way to do it all, little by little. That way, you're getting closer to that finish line and you don't have to get stuck. And I think often people get so upset or defeated and sad and tired, but you ain't too tired to get up to go to that job so you can pay that rent for that house you do not own. I'm just saying. So find the energy to do the things that you actually want to do, or in my opinion, what I always say, don't complain. Cause you walk around with attitudes and stink ass energies. Oops, I'm sorry. Have a moment, stink energies that we gotta deal with. If you are actively living in a space or experiencing things that you do not like, figure out a way to change it, and figure out the steps, the micro steps, not the big steps, not the end game, because you're gonna get overwhelmed, you're gonna get discouraged, but break down those small steps and only focus on those small steps one at a time to get to the bigger goal. But if you're not gonna do that, please don't walk around giving us your boo-boo energy.
To quote our good sis Tabitha Brown, have a good day, don't ruin anybody else's.
Yes.
And
We
for
are
our-
all accountable for our own happiness at the end of the day. And we all understand what this business has done to us time and time again. They literally just overturned the Voters' Rights Act. We only had that act for 62 years. That wasn't even that long. it's definitely disappointing, but this business is doing what they always have done. Well, we can't be shocked and upset and mad about that, we just gotta be proactive and continue to create places like this, and continue to create and actually support and pour into each other. So shout out to somebody whoever's in the audience right now, that was here from 11 o'clock to right now. Well, if you've been here since 11 o'clock, stand up.
I can't stand up again.
Okay. Look, did you see, we had to add extra rows in here because it was so crowded. Now all of a sudden folks is gone, they, for whatever reason, they want the beat traffic, whatever the case may be. Okay, but you don't get up and go to their job, on Monday, sit here, fellowship with us, pour into us, like pour into these vendors. I got books back there too.
I'll committee.
Yes.
Jameer, over to you, and I'm interested in your point of view because you do work in the media space, but with that, as we know, there is maybe we receive a pitch from someone wanting us to cover their event. But the powers that be go, no, we don't have the bandwidth for that, we don't have the budget. I mean, you could go gratis or whatever the situation may be. So is there an emotional toll for you as a media perspective from trying to constantly prove the value of telling Black stories?
In 2020, I created a podcast, The Jameer Smith Show, and I realized that I wanted to tell the stories of the everyday person because we were all experiencing what life felt and looked like for all of us during the pandemic, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we all had a story to tell. And that story was we were all being creatives, right? Moms were figuring out that they wanted to be bakers, and men were figuring out that they wanted to make a car. And we were all just trying to be creatives in that space. So I said I wanted to be a storyteller and start telling those stories. And even though I'm working for a large platform now, I never lost how I felt in 2020, saying, you know what, I want to still tell those smaller stories. So to answer to that question, I realized that there's so many Black filmmakers that are in this city and in New York and in Atlanta where I'm from, that their stories never, ever, ever get told. And I always kind of promise myself, don't ever say no, even though there's not a cost to it. The cost is making sure that I'm still helping them tell their story. And then it now gets eyes on someone else. And I have a thing that I've said at the last few panels that I've been doing the last couple of weeks and months, is get it out your phone and get it out your computer. And that means, and I said this in Sacramento at NABJ, and I know people took it offensively a little bit, but don't die with stuff sitting in your phone, meaning the content, the photos, the videos, and all of the things that mean a lot to us. Get it out so the world can see it, and even if one person sees it tomorrow, then that means one person saw it, and then they can share it, and they can share it. So it never ever does not align for me if it's a smaller platform or a bigger one. I've done it all, from the Oscars to an independent filmmaker out in the Valley. And I think every person still has a story, and sometimes those Valley stories of that independent Black filmmaker has a bigger conversation than the top bill story that has the biggest budget, so.
With that, clapped up.
Jameer said yes to me too, so, and you amplify me, not that you say yes, you said what I need to do, what else you need, sis? Like, you poured it into me, you didn't even know me, and we keyed on the interview, and I had look, even when I saw you today, I'm like, hey, friend, I feel like I've been knowing him forever.
This is the thing, and I think you and we had this conversation earlier, and I think people that work on carpets, I think that I want people to always understand, be a pleasure to work with. That's it. And that means if somebody hires you for a job, if you're working for free, say thank you, send an email, text that person. And then the other thing that I also have been telling everybody, and I think some people said it earlier today in some of the conversations, is DM that person, send an email. You never know if they say yes or no. If we're sitting at the house and we're looking at Instagram and we're looking at socials, it's in the byline, everybody. Whether it says message and it says email, stop saying I can't find their information because it's right there. Send them a message, and all they can say is no. And that's the reason I have won a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, I have won because I took a risk on myself, and you do this a lot, and I'm glad we had that conversation when I had her on my show, is she took a bet on herself, and that's the thing, bet on you. Nobody else is gonna bet on any of us besides us, better than us, so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica, over to you. With the gathering, I'm happy to see people here today because I swear we don't read. I love that you said that, I was also very avid. My mother is over there. She knows I used to be under covers with a flashlight, you know, when I was supposed to go to bed. Jessica, for over to you. So in our current era, what is physical gathering spaces? Why do physical gathering spaces for Black creatives still matter in a digital era where everybody is technically connected?
Yeah, I think, so I started my book club as, it was in person when I was in Florida. So I started my book club around 2017, that's the birth of literature noir in Miami. And I gathered some friends and we were like, let's do it in person. It was so amazing to do it in person. But, you know, sometimes life happens and people don't show up, so I made it virtual, right? And so then the pandemic happened, so that worked in my favor. But when I moved out here, I started garnering more people that were in LA, as well as wanting and yearning for physical spaces outside of it just being virtual. So I started creating like little different events, such as like brunching with the author, which is like an intimate brunch experiences where I invite authors in and have like 15 readers come and join, or other events that I would plan, right? But a lot of people would express like, I want in-person experiences, I want more of these physical spaces, and I think every time that we gather together, it is an energy that you cannot deny. Like, it's just something that you can't deny that virtual will never do. I mean, I get it, you know, Zoom is there, it's great, it's fun, but there's something about being in community with people, because that energy that you get from being around folks, especially as creatives, you go back and you feel the energy and you feel like you can do anything. Like, you feel energized and motivated to do anything. Versus like, you know, I can see, I'm scrolling on Instagram, like, hey, that's great, I see them, but you only see oh so much of people. Like, I know for me, I only post oh so much. Like, I don't show everything because that I feel like the internet is not necessarily a safe space like physical spaces are. And I think for someone like Tamika, me, or anybody I know that creates safe spaces for Black creatives, it is so necessary. Like, if you're thinking of creating something so small with 2 or 3 people, that is great. Do it, because we need more physical spaces, and a lot of the data doesn't lie that we are losing comprehension skills, we're losing those, you know, those critical thinking, we're losing those needs to be, like, those just sensory needs to be around people and understanding, like, those cues. It is gone, it's a lost art, because we've been sitting in our homes for a whole year, not our fault, of course, a year and some change, and we don't have that anymore, and technology has taken over. So I think it's, physical media, physical spaces are so needed right now.
Yeah, as you see, like vinyl, last year, vinyl was like probably like $1 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like $1 billion. So even like everything at the end of the day, kind of, it returns full circle.
We need it all. More, I implore everyone, don't throw your books away. Put them somewhere. You never know. I came across recently at a yard sale an unopened copy of the LA Times when Obama was elected, still in the plastic. They were just giving it away. I said, I'll take that, thank you very much. And then also what's critical too with the advances of technology is still ultimately will be controlled by who allows the flow of information into the tech. And so once you control the flow of information, then you can influence the masses to bend to whatever will you think is true. You know, I got access to all these things, but look at other countries where it's suppressed and you know, all that TikTok dancing and all that on their version of the internet, and we are steps away from, so everyone please keep all of your physical media. Tamika, back over to you. At what point did Black Writers Weekend and everything you've created become more as a responsibility to the larger Black community and less about proving yourself that you could create this thing?
Well, I never felt that. I never wanted to prove anything or to or replace something or even have the limelight. I'm kind of just good at it, to be honest. Not only am I'm good at gathering, but I'm good at sustaining and maintaining, because it is a lot. It is a lot, it's super layered with what you have to do to make these type of experiences keep going, and then for like corporate America to give you money. It took me several years to do that. Now, the reason why I started was I came out with a book independently, and nobody was putting me on the stage. So I took it upon myself because I feel like I'm on it. And I said, well, I'm gonna just create the stage, I'll put myself on it. I know it's a little self-centered, a little self, I don't know. But I was rooting for myself, you know? So I'm like, if they're not gonna do it for me, I'm going to do it myself. And then I had like an aha moment. I'm like, well, you know what, how do I get more people to come? And that is by inviting other people to the stage, because everybody don't know me, everybody don't wanna see me. And I knew and understood that everybody doesn't wanna read what I write. So I said, well, let me go ahead and link arms with other people, invite them to my stage, and keep the conversations going and see how many people we can pull out. And that's honestly how this concept continued to grow. And then I found, like, wait a minute, I can bring people into this room that not only just create, but they're financiers, they're producers, they're acquisition editors, because these are opportunities I want. Let me see if I can bring these people, invite them to the room, and then other people can get opportunities too. Like, it's literally was just something where I just felt, I wanted to exist for me, so I just kind of paid it forward. You know how maybe like, someone secretly paid for a drink or your food or your groceries and things, like you're paying it forward? That's honestly just what I'm doing, paying it forward. And when I started, it was not like it was. Like, the industry was very, very hard. I had to kick down some doors, people didn't really understand the concept. I was calling it experiences in 2011. And nobody truly understood what I was saying and doing. So I was like, well, we are creatives, and I started saying that in 2012 so that people can understand we are artists. Because I was trying to get media to put us, you know, in their magazines, put us on the main stage, make our books into movies. Fast forward 15, 16, 17 years later, it's easy now. These type of events are a dime a dozen. There are a lot of people getting their books made into films. There's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of people that now have the resources to activate their dreams, and it's not so hard anymore for me to do this type of work. And I'm actually gonna pay this work forward as well.
And as we wrap it up, Jamira, I will start with you, and Jessica, I will ask you, and then Tamika, you last. From your perspective, when you are doing your podcast, when you're interviewing people, what is the message you hope people will leave with watching your content?
Yes, that's easy. So I've interviewed some top celebrities and CEOs, writers, and independent filmmakers, and I remember even asking Tamika this question. I've always said something on the red carpet that made me stand out than some other people is kind of humanizing the person, right? If you are there to promote a movie, a song, whatever project, I always started off with, how are you right now and how is your heart? And it resets the conversation, it resets the moment. And typically, as I'm kind of wrapping up a conversation with someone, and I even asked her this as well, I said, with all of the things, and I'll go over, you know, a quick snapshot of like, you know, whatever, all the things that they've done that we've talked about, and I'll say, what do you want your legacy to be? And I remember, rest in peace, Kiki Shepard. And I remember interviewing her this year at NBA All-Stars game, and it's interesting, I go back to that interview a lot because she was absolutely excited to have a conversation with me. And immediately when I talked to her, you know, she's like, hi, Jamir Smith. And, you know, she says, I want my legacy to be that I'm leaving something for young girls and young Black women to say that they can do it too. And who knew that that was gonna be one of her last interviews. And so it reminded me, to answer your question, that I will constantly ask that question during interviews, what do you want your legacy to be? So.
Jessica, over to you. Even working from the strategy standpoint, your DNA is on it when you work with someone. So what do you want the message to be that your clients will with, or what you're putting in the digital space? What messaging?
Yeah, I think for me, for clientele, I want them to feel empowered to create. I want them to feel empowered that their voice matters. I actually was talking to this young girl. I was volunteering with some youth at a school with my friend. She asked me and a couple other creatives to come speak and whatnot, and I donated a whole bunch of books, and she came up to me, she's like, yeah, I wanna be a content creator, I wanna do this, and she's like, but I'm scared to like go out and shoot and be in front of people and all the things, and I was like, just do it. Like you have, like she's 17, she has like a baking business, and she's like an entrepreneur basically, and I was like, all you gotta do is shoot, just do it, your phone is right there, you don't have to think too much about it, just like do what you feel is important to you. And I think for me, when I'm creating content, especially about books, which is kind of pretty niche, I guess, in a sense, and amplifying Black books, the only reason I created my book club because I really wanted to just read and commune with people. Like, I just wanted to get back into reading because I was literally reading up until I got into college, and then I just stopped. And then I was like, I want to get back into reading so I can get better at writing at certain things, especially when it comes to speaking about my work with photography, because I was in school for photography at the time, and X, Y, and Z, and I just wanted to start reading again. So I think when I'm amplifying Black books and just books in general, I want people to feel empowered that they can just pick up a book and start reading, that the power is there, the knowledge is right in front of you in physical form, and even if it's like not, I read almost 80 books a year plus, but if it's not like, I just want you to read one book a year, that's it. Like I really just want people to feel empowered to read and, you know, own their power, because they're erasing it every day, as you can see.
Yep.
And it's right there, all the knowledge is right there. In a Toni Morrison book, in a James Baldwin book, in an Edwidge James Cat book, it's there. Yeah.
In a Tamika Jamison book. And lastly, for you, Tamika, going forward, what does power actually look like for Black writers beyond simply being invited in existing spaces?
Oh, God, wow, that's a good question. Ask me again.
What is this? How can we reclaim our power? Maybe that's a better one in the
Okay.
digital era as creatives, writers, etc.
How we can truly reclaim, own, master our power. One, by showing up for each other. Two, financially supporting each other. If you can't financially support each other, share what someone else is doing. That in itself, like word of mouth, it can go so far. You never know who may see that. Also, it's changing your mindset. Honestly, having optimism about that you can not only do the things that you want to do, but life is okay, life is good. Don't get so angry about the circumstances of our communities and society. Be proactive, because I believe that strategically this business, country, tends to want to keep us upset, constant trauma, and constant annoyance and just exhaustion. And yes, they are strategically doing that, and sometimes I feel like they're doing a great job. But I want you to find a nice balance, not just you, but us as a community, as a race, as cousins. I want you to shut it down, shut it off. Have moments where you're not tapping into, what's going on in the world. Change the things that you're following. Pray more. Manifest over yourself more. Talk to yourself more. I don't think enough of us, we don't talk to ourselves enough.
It's a sign of intelligence.
Yeah, it really is. And check in on yourself. Create some goals and not just career goals, but emotional goals for your family, goals for your health, and be very intentional with those things. But ultimately, if you are making yourself better, you're already doing your part by making your community, your city, your family, your home better. So it starts with you.
Well, I thank you. That is our time. Thank you, everyone. Do we have
We gotta have questions, absolutely.
Alrighty, who has a question for our lovely panelists? Well, let's first off give them another round of applause. Also, a special shout out to Tamika for even organizing us and getting us in our space. I hope the knowledge and everything has been great for everyone. So, any questions so far? Okay.
I have one.
Gotcha.
Well, thank you. I'm Brian Keith Walker Sr. I'm an author of a book. And Mrs. Tamika, you said something that just got me going. When you started, you said, nobody was putting you on, so you put this platform together for us. Thank you. Once again. I'm frustrated a little bit, but not mad, I'm just frustrated. This book is not my personal story yet. This is the story of another lady. And I'm trying to get this story out there about the United States, what you've been saying, the business. And she was freed in 1781. Got money, bought her own home in the 1800s, and nobody's heard of this lady. She's the reason we're all free today. She's the first person to get freedom in court. Not just give you paper to go home. This lady was a slave in the house where they wrote the Constitution, thing that the attorneys met.
Yep.
This lady's story should be heard, I think, because I read it 18 years ago, and 2 years ago wrote the book. Because nobody knew about her. So I'm just saying, to get stories out there, black stories and so forth. This is a strong black woman.
Yeah, what is it? Well, I've heard of her story.
You heard?
Yes, but anyone who's never heard it, like, shout her name out.
Mom Bet. Her name is Bet, actually. Bet. But they called her Mom Bet because she loved everyone. And then she got freedom in 1781. She named herself Elizabeth Freeman. So it's shocking to me that this black woman has 3 names, and most people never heard of her. When I go to Black History Month and I go to Martin Luther King, she's not up.
Well, you know, I mean, just to feed into that, the reason why those type of stories aren't amplified is because it's too positive. You know, it's going to give us power, essentially. And so that type of history they don't want us to talk about. Like you mentioned Martin Luther King, they don't talk about his last couple of weeks when he was alive and how he regretted his life's work. And he felt like he led his people to a burning house because he got played at the end of the day. They don't talk about that because they want us to remember the other side, which is where he was fighting for integration. And he realized, wait a minute, we shouldn't have not done that. And I was a kid and realized, like, that didn't make no sense. We was fine.
What do we do now that we're in black stories to each other?
You're doing one part already. Like, you showed up. Just showing up in the room was one thing. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I did. I'm gonna try to do it very, very quickly, so I won't be long with you. You get your speed. I'm recording. So I came out with a book independently. I reached out to bookstores. I created something like a sell sheet. A sell sheet is like a snapshot of what the book's about. And I did old school style, and I did direct mail. I sent this out to all the bookstores. And then I will also email it. So I did a double whammy. So I wanted to make sure that they saw it in their inbox, and then it went to their mailbox. Then I will call a few of them and act like I was looking for my book. Why you ain't got that book on the bookshelf? So sometimes you gotta act like you're a customer. So I did that as well. So, and then another thing is I began to put myself on tour because when nobody put me on stuff, I became my own booking agent. So I reached out to book clubs and bookstores. I pitched myself and I flew myself there. I invested in myself. And so I did book signings there, and I recorded these situations. So I take pictures, I post it, I'm posting online, I joined all the groups on social media. I was going on everybody's nerves, I was posting every day, all day. I was being super aggressive. And that's what sometimes you have to live, eat, and breathe the dream that you want to actually come true. You can't just post and doing something every now and then. You want to do a book signing once a couple of months. That's not gonna work, it's not gonna get it, especially right now. There's a lot of people that come out with books every week, I mean hundreds of books. So what's gonna help you stand out is you being aggressive and you putting yourself in different rooms. So in addition to putting myself on book tours, I also did, I reached out to different media. So I asked for interviews, and I would just pitch myself. I would create a fake email, and I would act like I had a whole other publicist. Everything that you're supposed to have, I pretended to be. And then I learned the trade of it, being a publicist, being a booking agent, being a publisher. And the only thing I went and got was a stylist because I didn't know how to dress. And I knew I needed to look a certain way. I need to be presentable. When I've seen people do book signings and their nails is dirty, their hair ain't done, they wrinkle. Like, no. I used to get in trouble from leaving the house, and I had to be a representation of my household. And if you walked out the house looking a hot mess, I would get a whipping. So that was something I learned, and I trained myself even as being an adult that I am the package deal. I am the brand. So those are specific things that I did. And on top of that, collaboration. Like everybody is talented, but it's not really what you know and what you put out, it's who you know. So you have to really begin to network, and sometimes you gotta give your books away for free. I did that too. So I'll give you another example. Dang, it's a lot, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop. So, for instance, the New York Fashion Week, or like music festivals, things that were not book related or connected to what I was actively doing. I would go in spaces where my competition was not. So So I would go to music festivals, I would sell hundreds of books in one weekend. And now, I'm not a salesman, you're not a salesman, you're an artist. So when you're going to these events, you're taking pictures, you're networking, you're taking emails, I'll build my newsletter list. And then with the New York Times, not the New York Times, but the Fashion Week, I would go to fashion shows because my readership was there. And they had these gift bags, like people wanna leave these fashion shows with gifts. I would give hundreds of my books away to people in fashion, bloggers, influencers, and they would read my book, talk about my book, and I have landed my own major book deal without an agent 9 months after my debut novel.
Hold on. Wow. Very good.
So that's just my journey. So that's like, that's a snapshot of what you need to be doing for yourself. Put yourself in, go to cigar bars, cause that's where the men is at. Go to, you know, you don't wanna talk to, you know, black men read too. Go to, yeah, it's a whole.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
reach out to black men, it's black male reading groups. This is only like Black History Month comes up, Black Music Month comes up. They have, black male, mental health awareness as well. See, you are a black man that wrote a book. That's a big part of who you are. Tap into spaces that align with you and figure out a way to make yourself a part of the conversation and give away some books if you can, cause that's marketing, that's advertising. Anybody's not gonna wanna buy your book.
Right. I did my
Also,
first
one
book
last
screening on the 6th. I'm nervous.
Oh, that's good then, nervousness is good.
Yeah.
One last thing, somebody told me they had, they wrote too many chapters in their book, it was too thick. So I said, you know what, when you get with your editor, whatever chapters they pull out, release that as lost chapters. Like, let that be free. You know, or even your first 3 chapters of your actual book, release that for free. Like, it's almost like dangling the carrots and might come and bite you. Like, you just gotta be real strategic and like, really kinda unique with the approach. Where there is a will, there is a
Way.
way.
Thank you so much for your.
You're welcome, and good luck, I'm excited for you.
Hi, my name's Ash. I have another question for you guys. I was wondering, since you all have your own different platforms and you have to come across these hurdles, what is the best way to overcome those challenges, even when you get like your first 100 no's? Like, how do you overcome those like trials and tribulations?
Oh, I love a no. I love a no. And I think the beautiful thing about a no is that whenever they send you a no, you get an email. And the beautiful thing about an email is now you have a contact. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people don't understand is that yes, we feel bad because we put our work out there. We're like, oh my gosh, they said no. Good, that's okay. Because remember, everything in this room, everybody's not gonna like. We get it. But the other piece around that is now that I have a contact, now I have a reason to reach back out to you. And for a lot of us, you know, we'll get a no from a project that we're doing and we're like, okay, well maybe that wasn't good for them, but let me reach out to the next person and the next person and the next person. I think to add on to you know, your conversation earlier is that we said it earlier, y'all stop sitting on all of the information, stop sitting on the project, stop sitting on the dream, because this woman has created a space for all of us to be able to sit in Cal State and say, wow, we can now look at other creatives and say we see ourselves that maybe we've never been able to see ourselves. And we created a platform for other people to say, wow, they created a lot of noise from the 8th and the 9th of May. And we maybe need to do something like this on a regular basis, right? And so you start to have a lot of questions for people to start saying, well, maybe I need to reach out to this Tamika lady and see, well, how much does she cost? You know, and I think she said something earlier in our conversation, and I remember on my interview, and I want to finish, is that IP. As people of color, sometimes we don't talk about ownership a lot, and I think we have to do better when we have these money conversations and these conversations with our business partners or the corporate partners. Be okay to feel uncomfortable, right? Money is uncomfortable to a lot of us. As people of color, and I hate to put us all in a box at times, we were raised to say, you got a good job, stay at that job. But unfortunately, that's not always the case because all money isn't good money. And also, if you have an amazing product, why not pitch yourself to want more and to say no? It is okay to say no to that deal and actually say that you want more money because guess what? They're going to lowball all of us.
Yes.
And the person that is working beside us doing less work than us is getting paid way more money than us.
Yep.
So keep pushing and hopefully that answers your question because the no means a yes eventually for me.
And let that no fuel your creativity. When I first started, I started in sports, particularly combat sports. And there were no black women in combat sports. There particularly were no plus size women working in sports. When you see those opportunities, they're not given to women that look like me. So I just built my own table and I started doing my own YouTube channel. And when I was too insecure to be on camera, I just started shooting B-roll. And I started shooting interviews as one-shots. Until somebody said, why are you hiding behind the camera? You're so vibrant and funny. And all of those things that I feared about being on camera never even happened. I'm like, what if they're just bullying me in the camera? Never even happened. It never happened because they were so wild with the conversation. Other things don't matter. You know, you have to create, like you have said, you have to make the thing. You have to make the thing. And the path will reveal itself, but you have to make the thing. Okay, my mom likes to say, opportunity don't go, hey, an opportunity.
You have to take it.
You have to take it.
Yeah.
And also, Meg, you probably just talking to the wrong person. That know me, you just talk to somebody else.
Exactly.
Alrighty, we have time for one more question. Right here we go.
First of all, thank y'all so much for sharing your time here. I'm grateful for that. I'll just make it short and sweet. This question for all of y'all, including you, Ms. LaBeouf. As y'all enter this, each profession that y'all as y'all entered into this profession that y'all entered into, what was something that y'all had to unlearn while being in this industry? In other words, when you first started, like your first day in your job, compared to how you feel today, what was a lesson that you carried from the beginning that you now no longer align with, if that makes sense?
You have just as much right to be there as everybody else.
Yes.
I had to unlearn the imposter syndrome. You have the right to be there. You have a voice. You have the right to be there.
I would say getting over the cringe when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to creating content. You have to get over being perceived. You have to get over that scary moment of being in front of a camera. You have to get over it. I would say that is probably something I had to unlearn, is like just do it. Like stop overthinking. I'm overthinking like 5 things right now when it comes to things I'm about to launch this week. But I have to get over that. That's the big thing. Yeah.
Mine's is slightly different. I had to learn to wise up when it came to the people I allowed into my space.
Ooh, discernment.
Yeah, my discernment, exactly. I started very young. I was 20 when I tapped into this industry. And when people came to me asking for, help, guidance, they wanted to be published, I'm like, sure, why not? Let me help you dream, and all these beautiful fairy tale things I was thinking. And I was met with entitlement. They would not collaborate. It was more so, all right, now you let me, you be the one to make my dreams come true. I was being used. And then when I didn't respond and behave in the way that they wanted to, they would lie on my name, or they would change my character, and then they would tell people that version. And so I had to really build some tough skin. And I still enjoy, helping and doing my work. But I had to wise up and create some good boundaries and be like, everybody, they can get parts of you, but there's some parts they really, really can't get. So, in you guys may not be wanting to do the same journey that I'm doing, but in any journey, in any path, you have to be wise enough to know when things are for you, when they're not for you. You have to pay attention to how your body reacts when people come close to you.
I've had to realize that every season that I'm in, there's a word. And the last season that I was in was called Intention. And I was very intentional about my life, my family, my relationships, my job, all of the things. Now the season that I'm in right now is called Access. And that access means a lot because it's who do I allow access to me? Who do I want to give, to your point, access to? And then the other piece of it is, what do I want access to so I can continue to build character and also community? And I think being able to unlearn, to your point, of you deserve to be here. I think that there's so many people of color that believe that they have to be the only one. And we have to unlearn the idea that we are all in this industry, and there's nothing, I hate saying this out loud, but we're all just numbers. And so the reality of it is, nobody in this room is doing anything special than the next person. So if we create community for each other and say, guess what, now I can align with somebody else and I see multiples of me, now we create more noise and bigger volumes. And so I think that's the opportunity that we have to all have to unlearn and say, I said this in Sacramento and I know it created a lot of noise, but we in this room are our biggest gatekeepers. And we just have to do better in making sure that we create community for ourselves like this woman has done. And we have to all be able to say we can align with ourselves and give access enough for ourselves to say, you know what, I see you. And so we see you, Tamika, and thank you for this. Thank you.
And one more thing, as we're getting ready, Nicole, if you can get ready to go to the YouTube page. Dang, I forgot my point, what I was about to say. I do wanna say that, oh, that's what I was gonna say. I want y'all to be a little bit like me in a sense to where find a really good balance to pour into yourself and then pour into other people as well, to find a really good balance, because that's what I've been able to do all of my adult life. I could have really just focused on my own books, my own films. I could have been real selfish with my journey, used all my resources just for myself, but I actually shared that for many years with everybody I came across. And I still continue to find a way to maintain mine. Some things you have to sacrifice a little time here and there. But just imagine if we all kind of did that, and versus everybody not just trying to see like, how can they win, how can they get on, how can this work for me, me. And everybody thinking like that. If everybody in the room and everybody around you is thinking about self, how are we collectively growing and building each other? How are we gonna actually share some resources and eat with each other if we're not really truly thinking about each other? So be a little bit like me, find a really nice good balance, and figure out a way to dream and also pour into other people. With that being said, I do want you all to enjoy Dear Black Writers. Move closer to the front, because we're gonna start breaking down the back of the room a little bit. And then also visit the vendors once the film is done. I'll have my books out there. I do not wanna go back home to Atlanta with my books, so please come get me, please. But enjoy the film. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us today. And y'all continue to be blessed and share this experience with everybody in your mouth.
Yes, thank you.